Okay. About what time of the day was this accident?
Shortly after 2 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. And who else was in the parking lot? Let me start by asking you how many vehicles, how many police vehicles were congregated?
When I arrived, 2 vehicles.
Okay. What were they doing?
They were initially the officers responding to that location for the call that came in, the nature unknown urgent, for a disturbance in that parking lot, and giving the nature of the call and knowing that there were multiple subjects in that parking lot, I too responded to assist.
So when you arrived in the parking lot, the two other vehicles were the occupants of the two other police vehicles were in their vehicle, correct?
I don't recall if they were in their vehicle or had already made the exit from their vehicle.
This was an emergency call that you were responding to?
It was identified as a nature unknown urgent call.
Do you consider this to be a call that would have required your lights and sirens?
No.
Okay. I understand that if you have lights and sirens on, you can plow someone down and it would be within the course and scope of employment and you wouldn't be responsible for the accident.
Objection form.
Are
You may answer.
Are you aware of the difference between having your lights and sirens on versus not having them and your waiver of liability in regard to that?
Objection form. You may answer.
Yes.
Immunity from not waiver of liability, but immunity from liability.
Yes.
Okay. So this wasn't one of those situations, correct?
No, sir.
Objection form.
How many times did you strike Goldie's vehicle? More than once.
I don't recall if it was a multiple impact. It wasn't an impact that I felt. It was more of what I heard.
What did you hear?
I guess the best way to describe it is the friction between the rear of my vehicle with an object behind my vehicle.
Similar to hitting a telephone pole, right?
Objection form.
It just very, very low impact. I mean, it wasn't I didn't feel a jolt. It was more of an audible, I could hear the pressing against the back of the car into another vehicle.
Would this be a vehicle that you were in that was let me ask you this way. What kind of vehicle were you driving?
I was driving a Ford SUV style vehicle.
It's got I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it's similar to a Ford Explorer.
Interesting, I had a Ford Explorer that the city auctioned off 2 days before they should have.
Objection form.
So I'm familiar with a Ford Explorer. They have very strong bumpers, don't they? Big, heavy, extra steel bumpers. Correct?
I can't say one way or another. I'm not sure how they're manufactured.
On top of the bumper that the vehicle has, you've got a reinforcement cattle guard or something on your vehicle, correct? Maybe not cattle guard, but you have some extra armor
Push bumper on the front, correct.
on the front. Okay? What do you have on the back that makes it extra fortified?
I do not know.
Did you cause any damage to Goldie's vehicle?
Objection form.
There was minor damage observed to both vehicles.
What was the damage to Goldie's vehicle?
The front right corner near the front right headlight. Um, Minor scuffs, paint transfer, cracked lens, possibly.
Was the car street legal after the accident?
Objection form.
I don't recall specifically. That may be something that Officer Barger would be able to answer.
Officer who?
Officer Barger.
What was his role in this investigation?
He was the crash investigator that responded.
Whenever there's a crash that involves a police officer, it's standard operating procedure to call another officer to investigate, correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't have the officer causing the accident or being involved in the accident doing the investigation, correct?
Correct.
And so when the police officer arrived, I assume you told him your side of the story,
Brief synopsis, yes.
okay? And was it he that recorded the witnesses?
Officer Barger likely would have been the one to record witnesses. Officer Moxley was also on scene and assisted in some capacity, but I don't know to what extent.
Have you reviewed the videos in this? The videos from the vehicles and from whatever other recording devices that the police officers had for this accident?
Several months back,
Okay.
not recently.
All right. How many different vehicles had video that recorded this incident
Objection form.
that you know of?
Four potential vehicles?
Okay. Did you watch the video from all four?
I believe I reviewed 3 of the 4.
Okay.
Officer Moxley's video was not properly classified at the conclusion of the incident and therefore fell off our DMAV server, so it was no longer available.
Officer Moxley?
Yes.
You know, you used a term that I'm not familiar with, but you say that there was something about his video that prevented it from being used as evidence?
At the conclusion of any incident, you're required to classify your video, which adds a retention time period to it
Uh-huh.
to keep it for a specific amount of time. And if it's not properly classified, it could fall into a retention period to where it falls off. And
Does that mean that the public would be entitled to a copy of the video if it were not on that retention list?
Objection form.
would they be,
Do you know of, does the type of classification of video make any difference as to whether or not it's available through the Freedom of Information Act request?
Objection form.
no, I mean,
Okay. So Officer Moxley's video was one that, what was it about the classification that prevented it from being classified as something else? Well, what is it about the video that you know of? Was there inferior quality to the video, or was it something in the video that you just have me suspicious as to why they have that video unavailable?
Objection form.
What's your basis?
Sorry?
What's your basis?
Compound question.
Okay, you can answer.
that would be for Officer Moxley to answer his reasoning, how it was classified. I don't have knowledge of,
Were you disciplined in any way for this accident?
no,
Were you disciplined for not wearing a body cam?
no,
Was someone else disciplined for not wearing a body cam?
not to my knowledge.
Was there anyone disciplined at all in regard to anything about this incident?
No,
Were you given an administrative sanction for any reason regarding this night?
Sanction as in,
As in any kind of sanction?
I was
Were you spanked?
personally.
Objection form.
I mean, I don't know what word is appropriate, but were you
I was not disciplined for this incident.
with someone else?
I was given a supervisor referral to look into a administrative complaint against one of the officers on scene.
Who made the complaint?
I would have to refresh my memory on the complaint.
We can certainly. Is the complaint one of the in the documents that I've been provided here?
Possibly.
Okay. That wouldn't be the same as the offense report. It would be something else. Would that be in your disclosures?
I'm sorry?
Would that be in your?
I don't know what complaint he's talking about, but if you want to ask me questions, we
I
can go
don't-
off the record.
I don't see it in here.
Okay, tell us what you know about the complaint. What officer was complained of?
It was a complaint regarding comments, I believe, to Ms. Gaddison.
I wasn't involved, was I?
No.
Thank God. Okay.
While on scene, it was a complaint that was brought to my attention by my lieutenant of a complaint that was filed, I believe, by Ms. Gaddison in reference to,
Being bribed, right?
Objection form.
Being given some quid pro quo for leaving.
Objection form.
Go ahead.
in reference to, I guess, conduct or conversation that she felt was inappropriate.
And what's the name of that officer?
At the time, I don't believe the specific officer was identified. My inquiry into that was with Officer Moxley.
This is recorded on one of the videos that was out there, correct?
Objection form.
Partially on one of the videos.
Which video?
I believe it would have been Officer Barger's.
Officer Barger?
Barger.
B-A-R-G-E-R?
Yes, sir.
Now, we've been trying for the longest time to get copies of these videos.
Objection form.
You may not be aware, but Goldie Gaddison was invited to the watchdog organization called the Police Monitor. Are you familiar with the Police Monitor?
Yes, I am.
Objection form. Remember, put a pause between the question and the answer so that I can make the objection to preserve it for the time of trial. Okay?
We seem to be getting along fine.
You know what I have to do, Scott. Don't act like you're surprised.